Hi, guys. Let's talk about how we are going to do the Destabilization Project. So, we just learned about the Opium Wars, and the Opium Wars are basically Britain coming into China and wrecking their culture, economy, and creating a dependency on a drug that cripples their efficiency. Remember that most of opium users were within the higher levels of society because it was an expensive drug in order to get. Here's where the project comes into play. We are going to sabotage our group members. And in other words, the idea behind this is that you're just going to apply concepts from the Opium Wars as well as from the CIA sabotage documents to simulate how governments kind of related to each other from 1800 to 1900. So, hopefully, you are feeling a lot of pride in yourself and in your fake country because nationalism is also going to play a part in how this plays out. Here's how you are actually going to complete this project. Step one, make a fake country. And sadly, you are not going to be allowed to have Wi Fi, internet, social media, or any of those tools available to you. No nukes, none of that. You should limit yourself within the capabilities of the 1800 to 1900 time period. This is going to make it the most effective version of a simulation. Things that your fake country should have. They should have a government structure, or like basically, how are you ruling it? Is it an empire? Is it a kingdom? Is it a democracy? Is it a republic? Is it a loose collected set of tribes that are all within the same general area? That kind of thing. Where is it located? Even though this is a fake country, we still want to put this on a world map. So figure out, are you next to New Zealand? Are you an island? Are you smack dab in the middle of Mexico? All these things. What's your climate or weather like? You are going to have a very different kind of country if you have a tropical kind of climate as opposed to living in Antarctica, which has a very Arctic tundra vibe. Figure out what languages are spoken, what your general culture is, or what kind of main religions do you have? If there is a main religion, if you guys are all atheists. How do you guys gain your money? So, like, do you make most of your money by exporting polar bear fur? Or are you exporting slaves and relying on slave labor? What natural resources do you have available? So, for example, maybe you guys are super dependent upon rainwater. And if there's a year without rain, then you guys are in a crisis. Which leads us to the last thing that you guys should include. You need to have 3 different disagreements that your people have. These could be big things or they could be little things. Like, do they like rap music versus country music? And there's big heated debates. Does half the country feel that it should be called football and the other half call them soccer? It could also be things more serious. Could half the country be pro choice and half the country is anti choice or pro life? Depending on how you call that. Is half the country in favor of wrecking the government and establishing anarchy, and the other half is more absolutist? Do half of your citizens or do the powerful citizens feel that there's no such thing as mental health services and the rest of the country is like, no, 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 we need mental health? Figure out just any 3 random things that your country disagrees on. Once you've filled out this list, you are going to swap with your partner. And if you are in a group of 3, you could swap any which way, just as long as you have information for a country that is not yours. The idea is that now that you have the information from your partner, you are going to invade their country. And they're going to probably try to invade yours. And part of that is going to be creating something called a destabilization plan. And that is basically just going to be taking lessons from the CIA as well as from the Opium Wars. So let's scroll. And like maybe you are going to send in spies, and your spies are going to sabotage their industry. And you're going to have them all encourage the workers to work slowly. Or maybe you're going to have your spies cause as many interruptions to the workdays as possible, which will slow industry, which will slow their exports, which will break their economy. Maybe you are going to encourage them as a diplomat to create a bunch of committees and then make sure that those committees only bring up things that are kind of irrelevant or useless. Make sure that, maybe you make sure that there's a lot of speeches. Just again, look through these lists, and you could also look at the CIA Chaos and Disorder Guide. And then once you have your plan, you are going to translate that into a 1 paragraph or like 5 to 10 sentence, collection of paragraph, and talk about the weaknesses in your partner's country and how you would take advantage of those weaknesses. And then finally, in about 4 to 7 sentences, talk about now that you have that country destabilized, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to be like Britain? And are you going to get tons of silver from them? Are you going to use them as a colony for slave labor? Are you going to use it as a place to get natural resources to fund your own country? So consider, what are you going to do now that you have control over another country? Maybe you'll go on a world domination quest. Who knows? But yeah, that's generally how you should do it. All right. Okay. Let's there we go. Let's create an example project together so that you guys can kind of see how we would do this. My plan is for the Santoro Empire to invade the Republic of Wanch. All of these names are totally coincidental. So step 1, I'm going to create my country. And I just copy and paste that list. My government structure. This is an empire ruled by Emperor Santoro, rules by the mandate of heaven. If I wanted to be a little bit more cheeky or ironic, I could mention our principal's name, the mandate of Mr. O, but I'm just going to say the mandate of heaven. I could say that I have, the Empress has a set of advisors, but otherwise controls the country. Absolutely. Where on a map is it? Now, for this, I'm actually going to go to Google. I'm going to take a world map and I am going to say that the Santoro Empire is let's put it over here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Let's make this a very obvious oops. And then let's put in a box. That it's suddenly a mysterious set of islands that are right by Hawaii and the Philippines. Woo! All right. So, as you guys can see now on the map, this is roughly where the Santoro Empire is. We are a small but mighty country. Climate and the weather. Well, what makes sense for my part of the world? If we look over here, we can see that I am right by the equator. I am also right in the middle of the ocean. So that means, since it's by the equator, Santoro Empire is hot with occasional hints of hurricanes and tsunamis. Is mostly hot, humid, and fairly dry. Or sorry, it's hot, humid, and fairly windy. That's what I'll say. Languages spoken. Based on where it is located, it would make most sense for it to either have been colonized by the Spanish, Portuguese, or even maybe people from Southeast Asia. So I'm going to say that the main languages spoken there are Tagalog and maybe Portuguese, because I am living this obscurity thing. Culture and religion, they worship a small pantheon or a small group of gods and goddesses, despite the Portuguese trying to convert them to Christianity. Main income and main exports. Let's say we want to sell a lot of coconuts, spices, and some slaves. Otherwise, we do a lot of internal trading. Natural resources are going to be seawater / salt, because if you dry out some salt water in a special way, you can end up just left over with salt. So that's good seasoning. So you're left with salt. We have coconuts. We have spices. So let's say that we can grow some cinnamon and we can grow some pepper. And let's say that other natural resources include wood from palm trees. And 3 things that my citizens disagree with. They disagree with having an empress versus becoming true Portuguese citizens. My citizens are mostly unhappy with this fact that they are so mixed and so random. They also disagree. They also have a strict social class system, which prevents the people from getting along. So I'm going to say that this is probably closer to me at the top as the empress, and then some advisors and their families, and then everybody else is a peasant and poor. Also, they're going to have disagreements about medicine. And I'm going to say that the Portuguese have science and medicine, which goes against the Santoroling's faith. My people are anti-science and anti-medicine for religious reasons, so that's a big disagreement. Now, for the people who are going to be taking your information and trying to find ways to destabilize, you can totally use this information up here to figure out how to destabilize me. You can cut me off from outside communication. You could sabotage my individual villagers. You can also go down here and think, maybe I'm going to convince the peasants that the empress is going to require everybody to have Portuguese medicine used on them, which will cause a revolt and cause my empire to destabilize. Boom. You can maybe also say, oh, if I'm trying to destabilize the Santoro Empire, maybe I could say something about how the Portuguese are going to be murdered by the natives, and that causes the Portuguese to freak out, and so the Portuguese go on a rampage to try to take over. Cause destabilization. Boom. Whatever you want to do, as long as you have the information, you are fine. So now I would be getting the information from the Republic of Wanch. Shock and amazement. My partner just sent me their information. So the Republic of Wanch appears to be located right over here in smack dab the middle of Canada. Let's see what my partner sent me. Well, the Republic of Wanch is a republic, which means that the ruling class is elected. There are the rule makers, the enforcers, and the judges. And if you're not elected, then you are a regular citizen. Some political parties include the Wolves, who try to keep the wealth to the old families, and the sheep. They did not clarify what the sheep are, so we're going to move along. Location, as we said, is in Canada. Since it's surrounded by French Canada, it's warm and humid in the summer and cold and snowy in the winters. Mostly speaks French and English. It's mostly Christian with some atheists. The main income comes from exporting animal fur, lumber, oil, and gold. And they import and mostly trade with French-owned Canada. Natural resources include lakes, rivers, trees, animals, bees and honey, gold, and minerals. Then three things that the citizens disagree on. They disagree with allowing indigenous tribe members full citizenship. They disagree about books and literature influencing modern morals. And they're also harsh to members of their society that they feel are lazy or underproductive. So, now that we have our partner's information, we're going to figure out how to destabilize the Republic of Wanch. And we're going to do this in 5 to 10 sentences. So, what are some things that we notice about the Republic of Wanch that are potential things for us to exploit or manipulate? Well, the Republic of Wanch has some very obvious weaknesses. First of these weaknesses is that it is landlocked, has no access to the ocean, and as a result, cannot trade easily with other major world powers. Secondly, it has an issue with severe cultural and moral divides between its citizens. If someone were to call an important person lazy, it might ruin their career, destabilize their country. I would strategically target influential people and get them in trouble for being lazy. I would also call them morally corrupt based on the books they read. So let's see how I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is done, but I'm going to add a tiny bit more detail because that's the kind of overachiever I am. So, can I easily trade with other world powers? If it were in trouble, cannot easily call on allies. Also, cannot offer anything solid to an alliance, which leaves it unprotected. All right, so that's how I would destabilize the Republic of Wanch. Now that the Republic of Wanch is under my power, what would I do with it? Whoops, let me make this font a little bit bigger. With the Republic of Wanch as my colony, I would have access to raw materials not present within my own country, such as gold, lumber, and animal fur. I would not only improve the situation of my own citizens, but I would create a port city to send out these goods to other locations for a profit. This would boost my country's economy. Again, you only need 4 to 7 sentences on this part. I already have 1, 2, 3 sentences. For this, I could go on to explain maybe by isolating the Republic of Watch further, I would make it reliant on my empire to succeed, giving me more political power in Canada. Down the line, it would give me a military advantage. If I ever wanted to invade the rest of Canada. Boom! So that is the entire project. Hopefully, as you saw from this example, you are not overwhelmed by all of the steps needed to do this, because once you get into the groove and the mindset, you will be able to complete it more easily. This project should not take you more than an hour to complete. If it takes you longer than an hour, please email me and I will do my best to help you out. All right, thank you very much and best of luck.